Welcome everyone.
Oh God, my
Welcome
video has to
everyone.
connect. Please go ahead, I'll join.
Okay, yeah.
Please go ahead.
A very warm welcome to this webinar, which is an introduction to our upcoming Tapas Intensive, the 8-week program, which is a condensed version of the 16-week Tapas course that we conducted from October to January 31st. So there were quite a few people who missed that previous program and wanted to continue with the Yoga Sādhanā because there are two more modules. And there are also people who want to do the teacher training program. So Tapas Intensive has been created for this group and of course more people. It's a condensed version of the 16-week program. So we will begin with the prayer and then a short centering practice and then get into the discussion. Mamatha?
योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणम् सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम् श्रीमते अनन्ताय नागराजाय नमो नमः।
श्रीकृष्णवागीशयतीश्वराभ्यां सम्प्राप्तचक्राङ्कणभाष्यसारं श्रीनूत्नरङ्गेन्द्रयतौ समर्पितस्वं श्रीकृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमीडे विरोधे कार्तिके मासे शतताराकृतोदयं योगाचार्यं कृष्णमार्यं गुरुवर्यमहं भजे श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. We will begin with a short centering practice. So please sit with your back erect. You can keep your feet on the ground or on a footrest. Make sure your spine is erect, your shoulders are relaxed. You can keep your chin slightly down. Gently close your eyes and just bring your attention to the sounds that you hear. Particularly paying attention to the sounds that are coming from far away and that which are very subtle. Don't think about these sounds, simply listen. Slowly withdraw your awareness to the space just around you and listen to the sounds coming from within the room. maybe the sound of the fan or the air conditioner, anything that's just happening around you. Just bring your awareness to that. And now withdraw your attention into the body. Listen to the sounds coming from within the body. Listening to the breath. Maybe to some random thought. Now see if you can locate a point within the body from where you are listening. Are you listening from the location of your ears or the brain? Just have a sense. Where am I listening from? And if you are able to locate that point, gently and slowly move it to the center of your body in seated position, which is your heart space, the center of the chest, just above the diaphragm. If you like, you can just bring your hands to that point. Bring your fingertips to the center of the chest. And begin to listen from there. Listen to the sounds coming from within the body, from the heart center. The sounds coming from within the room. And slowly expanding your awareness as far as possible. Listening to faraway sounds, subtle sounds from the center. Now let's slowly come back into the body. Take a few deep breaths. Allow the whole body to completely relax. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you for joining today. People in India, early morning on a Sunday. So, was there any difference in the listening when you just listened and then when you try to listen from the center? Did you feel any particular change in your attention or awareness? Yeah. Hello, Radha. Hi, James.
I felt it was softer, easier, less effort-filled, more integrated, just all of that. Very different from here.
So, in some sense, the Yoga Sādhanā program, the evolution of the Yoga Sādhanā program is connected to this. To really see that the world that we live in and the way we engage with the world, the way we respond to the problems of the world, is often from a very peripheral space, right? It's a space of great angst, fear, insecurity, and of course with desires and greed and all of that. That there is some thing moving from within us outward, and there are stimuli from outside that we are constantly responding. I don't know whether we ever come to our center. Maybe we go in there when we go to sleep. There is no other option. That's where we need to go in. Thank God for that. Thank God we have that 6 to 7 hours of going to sleep. In that, there may be periods of deep sleep where we are actually going to that center. Okay? And that is the experience of yoga. But unfortunately, in sleep, because it's covered by the energy of tamas, it doesn't give us that kind of clarity that a practice of yoga or getting into a state of even not samadhi, I'm saying, even being a one-pointed mind can give. But sleep is still very rejuvenating, very healing because of this factor that we're actually going back to our center during the sleep. The rest of the time we are outward bound and constantly reacting, responding to the world from the periphery. And this can be compared to like a pot with many holes in it, thousands of perforations, and the prana is constantly dissipated in all direction. And even if the prana is not flowing outward, it is circulating in a way that it gets blocked and jammed in different locations. Lot of traffic jam, and this jam is not tasty also. It creates a lot of problems like illness, disturbances, stress, anxiety, depression. Yeah. And we cope with life. We have learned to manage in many ways. We have learned to outsource many of our problems, thinking medicine or doing this or distracting ourselves with food and entertainment and social media and scrolling madly. All of that will sort of temporarily assuage our anxieties, but they don't. In a way, they create more problems because they take in more toxins from outside and they completely suck our energy in so many different ways. So, over the years, when I got introduced to yoga, it took for me many years to warm up to the understanding of what is yoga. I'm still learning. Being a very slow learner, I'm still learning little by little what is this yoga and what is this. It's like a very powerful elixir, very powerful, so powerful. But we don't seem to, one is that we don't seem to get enough of it, but we're also not staying with it long enough to experience it completely. Right? We go in, we feel a little quiet and nice, and then again we're jumping out into the world and getting lost in the world and then coming back. So it has been taking me many years to really understand what is this yoga and what is that it can offer to mankind. And just mind blowing. And then it's okay, now we have some little understanding of it, some little experience of it, and how can we share that? Yeah, obviously if we have experienced something very beautiful, we want to be able to share it with more and more people, right? Now that requires three things primarily: a regular practice of yoga. It's not just studying yoga, reading the many texts, listening to the commentaries, going to many workshops. It's not just that. All of that will sort of help us to move inward. But that real moving inward and practicing every day, coming back home into the heart center every day, at least for a period of time, so that we can be completely equipped, and then we can move into the world and we can come back with our hurts and bruises and we can heal ourselves and go back into the world. That movement has to happen constantly. So practice is required. And it's not any practice. It's not simply going to a group class and doing something where every movement and every breath is guided from somebody outside of me. It's valuable for a beginner, but still my focus is outward there. I'm just trying to follow instructions and do something. That could be helpful. It can provide me with a framework, with some kind of boundaries, but beyond that, it doesn't really help me to go deeper. Yeah, at some point, somebody going to a group class should recognize and will recognize that there's something more to it, which means I have to make this a more intimate practice for myself. I have to be in my own space, listen to my own voice, my own breath, and experience what this yoga is. So then it is more about, okay, what should I do then? If, in a group class, of course, a teacher is guiding me, I can just follow the instructions. But if I have to do my own practice, then what do I do? Particularly in our tradition, in the tradition of Krishnamacharya and Desikachar, this idea of personalizing your practice and taking responsibility for your own practice, doing it by yourself, is taught from the beginning. The very first class I had was with a teacher who taught me a practice, drew the practice for me, gave me a sheet of paper, explained to me and said, please go and do it every day. Come back next week. Yeah. And so in that session, I had to learn how to breathe. I had to learn how to do some simple movements. And I had to go back and do it in the evening so I didn't forget the nuances of the instructions that she gave me, the way she observed me, the way she instructed me. I had to remember it. So I had to do it that evening. And I had to do it every day for the next 1 week and go back to her. Yeah, because I had to go back to her week after week, I made sure I did some practice. Initially, I was not a very diligent student. I was very young and I didn't really understand the power of all this. So to make time for the practice was not easy for me because I was doing many other things. But because I loved my teacher, and I didn't want to disappoint her, and she was a very young teacher, maybe couple of years older than me, and I wanted to really also impress her, so I would do my practice and go back to her. And then slowly over the years, and then I started learning from Sir Desikachar, and he would give the practice. Of course, if Sir gives the practice, non-negotiable, right? You go back and do it. He will give some diet guidance with a lot of negotiation. Like he will say, do you like it? Will you eat it? Can you do it for me? All of that. And this relationship with the teacher, somebody that you can go back to, and who can observe you, who can listen to you, who can give you a practice, I can go back to the teacher. And that was the second aspect, that I needed a practice, I needed a teacher, and then I need a community. Yeah, the community where we can actually sit down and talk about and discuss. So in KYM, where I literally grew up from 21 to 36 or 37 or 38 until I was there for 17 years, every day there were discussions around yoga and Yoga Sutra. So we would sit in the staff room or anywhere and just have these discussions, discuss about some challenges we have with the students and how to modify a posture, what is it that works for somebody. So much of that rich discussions and demonstrations and applications and sharing that really fortified this this conviction within us. It was growing. That little seedling was just growing with so much of support from the community. And today it is like, I would say it's like a forest, and we're just chilling under the shade of this, especially in the summer in Chennai. Really chilling under the shade of these trees that have been sown, the seeds have been sown and watered and nurtured by generations of teachers. Generations of teachers, not simply the teacher that we learned from, the so many teachers. We can potentially learn from everyone, especially our students. There's always something that we learn from our students and go back to and say, see, this is what the student said. And I never thought of that modification, or I never thought that this insight could be useful. And today we are enjoying the fruits of the practice and the hard work of so many teachers, starting from, of course, for us Krishnamacharya, all the hard work that he put in, how he lived his life, right? And Desikachar, his generosity, and all the teachers that he taught, who continue to be part of the community that we are really thriving in. Yeah, and this is really the treasure of Yoga Sādhanā, and this is what we want to offer to more and more people. Now, how is that you get something and you don't share it? Yeah, we want to share it. We want as many people as possible to benefit from it. And we know for sure, I don't have any statistics on this, but from my observation over 35 years of practicing and teaching yoga, I can say that this form of practice, where it is personalized, where it is very intimate, where it is my practice and I have to nurture that little seed that will help me to allow my own inner potentials to flower and blossom. For that kind of a practice, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of intrinsic motivation, right? That I have to wake up every morning, spread my mat and do my own practice. Nobody is out there with a stick or somebody who can just give me the instructions. Nothing. I have to come back and do my practice. I have to make an appointment with my teacher and go and see my teacher. Yeah, it has to come from within me, and it takes a long time. Why does it take a long time? Because I said, this prana moving outward, we are so much used to this leaking of the prana outward because our senses are outward driven. And today, compared to 30, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, today the distractions are like, they have just grown exponentially, right? Even moment to moment, you can be distracted by the phone if you keep it next to you when you're doing your practice. And then before you know, time is up and then you have to get on with the other activities of the day. So most people say, I don't have time to practice. But I can't understand that. How is that we can't make time for our own practice? That yoga is actually promising that if you are able to move back to your center, you can shed a lot of these toxins, these baggages that we gather from outside. We can shed a lot because you can't take much inside. You have to drop your baggage. And then when you go there, and from there you learn to live, you learn to breathe, you learn to observe, you learn to listen, you learn to respond to the world. It's a completely different experience. Completely different experience. Why is that we are not making that time? Because it is difficult. Because yoga says we are so deeply conditioned, and we are conditioned by the demands of the world, by who I have to be for the world, right? My own identification, my attachment to my own identities of who I have to be seen as, my attachments, my fears, my aversions. So all of these energies are pulling my prana outward continuously. So I'm not able to pull my prana back and go back to my center. And practice is about pulling my prana back and going back to my center and learning to live more and more from my center. Okay, and this is the idea of asana, where we are trying to bring the prana to the center through different postures. So you're slowly moving the prana from all parts of the body, collimating it, bringing it back to the center. And pranayama is supposed to keep the prana in the center, and through that there is so much clarity that can come. There's so much lightness that can come to our being. And then from there we can quietly, happily, joyfully, and most compassionately respond to the world. And is that not what the world needs today? Yeah? And not everybody can do it. Not everybody has the privilege. I won't say the capacity, but the privilege. And very few people have that privilege. The time, the effort, the resources, the inclination, the interest, and the ability to commit. And if we have that privilege, then there is a responsibility. Not just towards us, towards our own family, but towards the larger world. And that's why Yoga Sādhanā is important. That we simply provide a space, right? We provide a structure, a certain process through which we can gather ourselves. We have the guidance of teachers. We have a community to walk with. And of course, we have the wealth of knowledge, the immeasurable wealth that is offered by the generations of teachers. So, Yoga Sādhanā is about flowing together in that river towards the ocean. And I can just be a drop in that ocean. Each of us just a drop in that ocean. Yeah. But right now it's a river moving towards the ocean. And every drop is important. Now that becomes a cloud, that becomes a rain, and that's going to fertilize the soil, and that's going to nourish millions and millions of human beings to come. So it's not simply what I do now, today, in my practice. It is what I am sowing for humanity. Not just for humanity, but all living beings on this planet. And begins with simply doing our own practice and learning how to do it with the support from outside, but also the understanding from within why I am doing it, what is it that I am doing it, towards what. So the understanding of yoga, the different meanings and definitions of yoga, we have woven the practice with these meanings and definitions, with the fundamental understanding of Kriyā Yoga, just one sutra in the text. They're just 3 words, Tapas Ishvara Pranidhana. And this whole course is evolved from this book. Some of you may have the book. You can get it. It is available on Amazon. So this book was released last June. And this June, we are going to release the next volume on Svadhyaya. And hopefully by October, the 3rd volume on Ishvara Pranidhana. So they have practices. The first volume has 16 weeks of practice, second volume 16 weeks of practice, third volume 20 weeks of practice. And so it's a practice for a whole year. What we see that Yoga Sādhanā is not simply going for a a 1 month program or a 3 week program and saying, okay, I got my certificate, now become a yoga teacher, I know everything. That is the feeling that these kind of certificate programs gives us. Even our training is like 2 years long, but after people get a certificate as a teacher or a therapist, they somehow assume, we assume that I know everything. I know how to do Uttanasana, I know how to do Tadasana, I can teach people. Whether I teach or not, I know how to teach. Okay? How will I know without teaching? Only when I teach, I realize so much is there for me to learn. The student will come and challenge me at every point. They will come and tell me in the third breath something happened. Now I have to go and practice for me to understand what really can potentially happen in the practice. So what we have done now is we have made sadhana as an integral part of any training that you will have to do with YogaVahini. So if you want to become a teacher or a yoga therapist or a chitta vaidya, then you have to be able to follow, at least begin with the tapas and then do the other modules along with the trainings. So what we have found over the years is teachers have become so busy learning everything that they have to teach that they have no time for their own practice. And even if we are doing a practice, it's just very peripheral, because I teach, I come back, I do something, and I'm able to maintain a certain level of practice, but I'm not able to go deeper. And I have struggled with it myself, that the busier I grow with teaching and the demands of the world as a teacher and my identity as a teacher, I forget that there is so much to go deeper. It's an ocean. And I'll have to actually make a choice to say this much is enough to move outward, and I have to move inward so that I can discover more of myself, I can understand more of myself, and that's the only way I can become a better teacher. I can offer something to somebody. So that inward movement is extremely important for a teacher. And sometimes with this certificate and all these ideas of hours and hours, we think we know it, and sadhana is something very, very foundational. It's like going back and learning ABCD. But if you go to, let us say, great scholars, particularly in Sanskrit, there's a time in a year, at least once a year, they have to go back to the fundamentals of understanding the language, the grammar. And Yoga Sādhanā is really understanding the deeper, the nuances of that language, right? Understanding the depth of it, understanding the taste of it. And that is extremely important. Every time you come back to the fundamentals, you're meeting yourself and the knowledge that you're learning at a deeper level. When you go deeper in understanding of yoga, we go deeper in understanding of ourselves. So there is so much that we have to come back. And our Yoga Sādhanā team is also growing. Okay, we have so many people in the team now because everybody wants to come back to the fundamentals. We all want to come back. We are doing it for a very selfish reason, because we want to go deeper into our own practice. And through that, we want to be able to reach out to more and more people. So I've spoken a lot. I want to ask Mamatha. Mamatha is from my first batch. She joined 2008 teacher training program. Maybe met even before that for some workshops. So Mamatha, can you share your experience with Yoga Sādhanā and how are you seeing the whole evolution?
Thank you, Saras. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Wherever you are from. Thank you. So, when I first met Saras, it was for a workshop. I had a yoga therapist at that time when I was working with some health issues, and of course, most of it was centered in my mind, I guess. I didn't realize at that time. But I had attended this workshop with Saras and was convinced that I wanted to be a yoga teacher. I had nothing to do with yoga. I had certain exposure to yoga till that time, on and off as a child here and there. But something about the way Saras brought the topic itself made me realize that perhaps, and I was also a bit of a lazy person. So I felt like I would probably be better at doing this. I need this. And if I became a teacher, then I would have to practice it. And therefore, this would be there for my life, right, while I'm teaching. And I really enjoyed the teacher training, became a yoga teacher. And then Saras had done Yoga Sādhanā in Chennai for a year after that. And I didn't get a chance to be a part of it because I don't live in the same town. But later, having experienced Yoga Sādhanā, again, going back to the fundamentals, staying with something and understanding all and learning techniques, practicing them, staying with them, understanding, observing myself in my relationships through Yoga Sādhanā changed my whole perspective of everything, actually. My life, my teaching, this whole idea of I'm a good teacher, I need to know more, or I didn't do this as well as the other teacher, or all of that, it seemed very trivial when compared to how I actually have the power to process how I am feeling. Because everything else is external. What she did, what she said, all of that is external. But how am I processing? How am I listening? What am I listening to? And how did my mind process that? And after all of this, what is my response to the outside world based on? So the more I was able to refine my listening, the more the more I am able to refine my listening, the more I'm able to quieten my mind, then the processing is different and how I'm responding to the world changes. After experiencing this, I asked Saras if I could actually do this program in Hyderabad, where I live. And so went on to do a few of the Yoga Sādhanā programs and just observing how the participants from the beginning till the end of the program, it was a pleasure just observing the insights, what they were left with by the end of it, what they took with them. And at this point, and some of them actually came back. A lot of them came back to say, can we do further? Can we actually join the teacher training? And it seemed like a wonderful idea for somebody to actually do this Yoga Sādhanā program. I like to call it yoga for daily life. Basically, it's like, how do we live our life? Just having teachers go through that, or potential teachers go through that, and then do the teacher training seemed like a wonderful idea, because when we just did the teacher training, there was a lot of this competitive spirit, which is good at one level. But when we start to look at another person and want to be like them, then a lot of things we are not honoring within us. I'm a different person. I have a different potential. I have a different capacity. And I can be the best version of myself, not the best version of somebody else. So this, I think, was a very important discovery for me in the Yoga Sādhanā. So when we had teachers go through the Yoga Sādhanā program before going through the teacher training, it seemed like we had a different environment, a different way of learning, a different joy in the learning, and not so competitive about who's doing which way. Rather, more focus on how am I doing this. And when I'm observing, of course, just because I'm learning to observe doesn't mean that I have changed. So I'm feeling a little envious of somebody who's doing something better. It's just that gives me an opportunity to observe myself. And the foundation, observe myself, understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and also just sit with it, and therefore come up with what is the next step. Okay, this is how I'm feeling. So what do I do about it? Rather than, just having a twisted version of it and feeling badly about it. That can come out in different ways, as we all, I'm sure, have experienced it some time or the other. Well, I definitely have, so I can speak for myself. So, yes. And then fundamentals, right? Saras was saying, going back to the fundamentals. So the foundation is to start with the body, because mind is in the body. The breath goes into the body. So if we can take care of our body, keep it healthy with food, asana, pranayama, then the mind is actually a little more calmer, stable enough to process. So going back to fundamentals, staying with the fundamentals again and again. And I don't think Yoga Sadhana is a program you do once and then, at least for me and for a few of us, a lot of us on the team, it is not something we do once and then we are done. It is going back again and again and again. And even just to stand in a posture called samasthiti and breathe. Sometimes my mind is not allowing me to do that. Right. Then I realized that, okay, this is something that I have to go back again and again and again and stay. That is tapas. And starting from the body. And there is no starting from the body going to the mind. It is all just going deeper, going deeper. Starting at one level permeates every other level. And then we just have going deeper, deeper, deeper. That's what my experience of Yoga Sadhana has been, and how this translates when we do this and go into a teacher training, yoga teacher training. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mamatha. So some of our earlier batches of teacher training in Hyderabad, many of them completed the Yoga Sādhanā with Mamatha, and then they were able to get into the training. There is a huge difference when somebody does sadhana, then does teacher training, and sometimes do teacher training, then come back to sadhana, do a therapy training, come back to sadhana. And this process is what has really helped me as a teacher to even to understand the whole commitment of a student on the path. If I need to refer a student to a teacher, I really want to understand the teacher's commitment to their own process, their own practice, and the commitment to the teaching. And this is what has helped all of us. So thank you, Mamatha, for holding that space in Hyderabad and continuing to be part of this. Now I want to invite Lekha. So Lekha was and is in a big way the sutradhar of the Yoga Sādhanā, who holds the threads invisibly. She keeps moving us, all of us, through that. And it was because of Lekha that we actually did a 1-year-long Yoga Sādhanā in Chennai as an in-person program. And you can only imagine the power of it. We come in person every other weekend, right? Saturday and Sunday for a whole year. And that's how we studied Yoga Sādhanā. And primarily the whole focus was on Kriyā Yoga and bringing references from other sutras in the text and weaving them into practices, into reflective activity, and a lot of focus on sharing and working with oneself and with each other. Then one day she said, okay, we need to write a book on Yoga Sādhanā. And she simply gave me a template on an Excel and said, can you start writing? So it took more than 18-20 months for this book to come out. and of course we needed practices on it, so I needed somebody who can draw the practice. Initially I thought, okay, I will do the drawing, and I called Tarini, who does this beautiful drawings using an app. So I asked her, can you please teach me how to draw these practices? I thought, okay, I can learn from her and I can draw. Very first day I realized I can't do this. The book was never going to come out if I'm going to draw, so I asked her to draw. So these are the beautiful practices that Tarini has put down. We will come to this shortly. But the book itself evolved from Lekha's idea, and yeah, it is. The other 2 volumes are in the pipeline, soon to be out. So I'm going to ask Lekha to share briefly about your Yoga Sadhana journey and why are you here? Why are you always pushing us to do something or the other?
Thank you, sir. And thank you, each and every one of you.
Volume, like,
Is it better? Is it better now?
we're not able to hear you properly.
Is it any better now?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit in transit. I've just moved homes and my internet and everything is patchy. But yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Whether you're physically present in this meeting or you're listening to the recording later, it's a lot of joy that I invite you into the space of Yoga Sadhana. Uh, like Sarah said, I started my journey like Mamatha, uh, being a student, being a therapy student. I came to yoga because I had physical challenges that I wanted to work through. And I joined the Yoga Sadhana on a whim. There was no good reason other than Saras looking at me and saying, maybe you should do this. It'll be good for you. And I just did it because my teacher asked me to do it. Um, I did it because I had a lot of faith in my teacher. Not so much that I had faith in yoga or faith in myself, because I was a terrible student. I would not do any of the practices that my teacher gave. My teacher had to catch me. She spoke about how we have to take responsibility and fix appointment with our teacher. In the initial couple of years, it was the other way around. My teacher would catch me, fix appointment with me, and then give me a practice, and then she would remind me to do the practice. And I was a terrible student. So I did the sadhana because I really liked my teacher and I did not know how to say no to her. And therefore I did the sadhana. And in the sadhana, he started teaching us the sutras. And I fell in love. And love is a very powerful thing, right? It makes you move mountains. So it was my love for the text that actually made me um, practice on the mat. And as I went through the almost 11 months journey of Yoga Sadhana, it left me more thirsty. It left me more hungry. I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. And then I looked at all the courses in YogaVahini and said, what do I do now? I want to continue learning the sutra. I want a sense of community because we were a beautiful group of 20 people and we had gotten this whole bond going and we were having so much fun uh, sharing our difficulties on the mat, off the mat, and sharing food, sharing conversation, listening to each other, holding each other. And I was like, I don't want to miss all these things. And the only option was to do a teacher's training. So I did a teacher's training not because I wanted to teach, but because I wanted to learn. And my going back to the yoga sadhana and pushing Saras to keep doing yoga sadhana also in the same space. It's not so much that I want to teach as much as I want to learn. And I want to have those elements that have helped me to stay with my practice. Um, For me, the study of the sutras, the study of the text, is literally the study of the context. So when I study the text, it tells me why practice is important. So when I look at the Yoga Sadhana team, I see that each of us are here for a different reason. Like I know when I look at Aarti, she really loves the practice. She loves actually, the chanting. When I look at Tarini, I see, really working with the body and really working with the mind, wanting to offer what she has experienced and learned to another. And when I see Mamta, it is simply that whole idea of the heart opening. So everybody comes to sadhana for a different reason. And I realized that is very important. So Yoga Sadhana is a program that offers everybody everything that they are seeking. So there is a lot of physical practice. For someone who loves to work with their body, there is the group practices. For someone who is here for the community, there is a lot of community, there's a lot of sangha. For someone who, like me, loves the text and wants to know more about the text, sadhana offers a lot of insights, a lot of reflections from the text. For someone who loves to chant, like I know Saras, Aarti, Mamatha, there's a lot of chanting that is involved. For someone who just wants a safe space where they can be seen and heard, sadhana loves that. So sadhana essentially brings all the different elements that each of us fell in love with. Each of us, the reason why we are here, like the relationship with our teacher. Uh, Obviously, everybody has that, but for someone like me who only is here because of my teacher and no other reason, that's the reason why I joined sadhana in the first place. That's the reason why I practice every day. There is that relationship with the teacher, not just one teacher but many teachers. That's one other thing that I've learned about yoga vahini, that you learn not just from one, you learn from pretty much every teacher who's available to you, including our students. So so whatever element you could potentially fall in love with, sadhana has that element, and that element will hold you. That love will hold you through this journey. So our whole intention in is the things that help all the things that help us practice and stay on the path into the program. So every new member of this team has come in and said, this is why I am here. Let us put that in. And this is what keeps me going. So let us put that in. And slowly, this is it's like a child that has been mothered by so many different people. And then there are these students who came and said, we like that about you, but we wish you could also offer this. And we said, yes, we can. And we put that element. So the sadhana in its current format is very beautiful, because this came from this idea that doing 8 weeks or 16 weeks, or it's not enough. Because like Mamta said, Yoga sadhana is about how can I live my life with yoga as its foundation. And yoga is simply being fully present every moment and really allowing life to touch me, allowing life to flow through me, and being able to keep myself open no matter what is happening, even if what is happening is unpleasant or uncomfortable or even painful, to be able to keep my heart space open, to keep my being open. Yeah. And it is not possible if I am not constantly studying the text, because the text says it is not just your pain. All human beings, not just in the current world, but for generations together, have gone through what you're currently going through. It's okay. This is what being human means. It's okay. Don't take it to heart. Yeah. Then you have a teacher who will explain this concept to you in a language in a way that you can understand and you can connect with. And there are several teachers. So the beauty of sadhana is there are so many teachers, somebody will make sense to you. Right? It doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter which one of us. Somebody will make sense, some definition will make sense. Like when we study the meaning of yoga, we teach what Krishnamacharya said, we teach what the commentaries say, we say what Patanjali said, we'll say this is what Desikachar said, and then we say this is what I understood. Of the 30, 40 different definitions, something will make sense to everybody. Yeah. So the whole idea is that. Similarly, we have group practices through the week. So there are practices that are designed to be progressive. So one of the challenges that I have felt as a student is sometimes I stay with the same practice for like 2 years and there's no progress. So we address that by creating practices that are progressive. So you do in Tapas Intensive, you do 2 different practices in a week, and we go through 16 practices in 8 weeks. For someone like me, this is very useful because I get bored very easily. So it's nice to do one practice on Monday and look forward to doing a plus one, like one step up kind of practice on Thursday, and then come back the next Monday and go a little more deeper. So it's a lot of fun especially for someone like me who loves having a little bit of change every once in a while. There are the reflective sessions on weekends, Saturday morning, Saturday evening, where we just listen to each other. We just share from our own experience. And I found this very valuable because sometimes I may have a challenge. I may not want to speak about it. Maybe I'm reticent, I'm shy. And maybe I don't even know that I have that challenge. So, how do I articulate something that is not fully formed in my understanding? But when somebody else is sharing, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm going through. And then the teacher answers, and I found my answer and I've not even opened my mouth. So sometimes being in the reflective session, even if I don't say, find answers to questions that I hold, answers to questions that I did not realize I hold. And sometimes I find answers to questions that I may encounter 6 months down the lane. So there is a great value in being in those sessions. Then, of course, the parts that I really love is after a practice. Everybody gathers around, and Tarini, Aarti, Mamatha, I will be around, and Saras joins in when she can. And we share from our practice. Like Saras said, the third time I repeated that posture, this happened. How did that happen? And there are teachers who will say, I don't know why it happened to you, but here's what I know from my practice. Yeah. And maybe that's valuable to you. Or maybe if we are not answered, let us take it to the larger group on Saturday. So I love those mini sessions of reflection, of listening, because the whole idea is that one never feels alone on this journey. Because this is in many ways a joyful journey, but also it has moments of difficulty. Sometimes it's difficult to motivate oneself to get on the mat. Sometimes when we get on the mat and maybe we are doing a forward bend and there is this well of emotion that comes up. I don't even know why I'm crying, or I don't know what I have touched. I don't know what to do with what I have touched. And it feels very lonely. So our intention in offering sadhana is that everybody has companions, everybody has a strong relationship with their teacher, and we have other people in the group that can hold us. And therefore, we can enjoy the joyfulness of this journey together. But also, when dukkham comes, when pain comes up, when discomfort comes, we have people to. Sometimes we need people, sometimes we cannot hold ourselves. And at those points, we have each other. And then we have the safety or the protection of the text itself, which says it's okay. You are not alone. Generations of human beings have gone through this. Okay. And you will find some answer in the text. Just you have to just study You have to just practice. You have to chant. You have to just keep it close. And the answers that you seek will find you. So that is the intention with which we offer the sadhana. The foundation of sadhana is, of course, Saras's own practice. That is our foundation, because I have always believed that the fruits of Saras's labor is mostly consumed by all of us who are her students. And so it is her 35 years of practice, of teaching, of learning, of this shraddha of going back again and again to learn more, to teach more. So we benefit from that. It is also the shraddha of every member of the sadhana team. It is also the shraddha of all the people who are currently and have done sadhana in the past, because we have learned from every one of them. They have been our guides on the sadhana. And also the protection that is offered by this lineage of teachers and of this text itself, in which sadhana is firmly grounded. So I would like to invite us to introduce Aarti, to introduce Tarini. If you have the book, you would have seen the absolutely beautiful drawings that Tarini has done. Sometimes I just look at the book to just see her drawings. I draw terribly. I'm not very good at drawing, but sometimes when I have to draw a practice for my student, I take Tarini's, practices, and I look at them and say, okay, try at least to come somewhere close to this. So there is a lot of precision in how she has drawn. And I think that is the element of tapas. That's a shraddha that we bring to. If any of you have spoken to Aarti, you will know the sheer joy that flows out of Aarti when she speaks about sadhana. And so I will ask Saras to introduce Aarti, Tarini, Pratima, who's not here, but is a very integral part of our team. And also, there's a huge backend team that supports us, that makes it possible for us to offer the sadhana.
Thank you. Thank you, Lekha. Your connection was quite patchy, but we were listening to every word. Thank you. So I am moving over to Aarti. Aarti has been part of YogaVahini for what, like 8 years, maybe?
Yeah, 10 years now.
10 years. So she did her teacher training, and she did her teacher training and therapy training together, right? You did.
Second year, yeah.
And a very, very sincere teacher and therapist, and a very joyful human being, deeply committed, very proactive. So she is really one of the very important pillars of Yoga Sādhanā. So Aarti will share her own experience and also maybe a little bit about who the course is for.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'm also keeping a check on the time. So, so very quickly to share about my experience. This is our third webinar actually. So, and every time when I have to think about what do I share that is different every time, it was very interesting of an event that happened last evening. So I've been processing certain things personally in life, and we had a very, I had a conversation with my husband last evening, and it was mildly heated. So obviously, the agitation and like what ma'am said, the mind keeps going apart, and I'm listening to everything. But then I saw this difference. As I'm listening to him, I was watching my breath. And then I was really focusing on my center here. And then I was able to say, Aarti, listen to what he's saying deeply. And can you be quiet and answer from this space? And then I had to connect to the energy around and like breathe and answer, breathe and answer. So I was actually calm. I was like this, even when there was agitation around me, when I was listening to something that was loud, but I was still calm. And this is
I would say thanks to sadhana, because it helps me to come back to the center every time. And I feel I'm blessed because, unlike so many people who don't really enjoy what they have to do in their life, their work professionally also, I'm really blessed that this is what I've chosen as a profession. So every time I have to offer a practice, when I have to come and sit here, this is where I offer the classes. So when I have to come and sit here, I have to do a gentle practice to come back to my center. So now when I keep coming back to my center here, the challenge has always been, can I go outside also and go back to my center when there is something that is heated around me? And it was just a thought in my mind earlier. It was just an intention that I was holding earlier. And last evening when I practiced it, after 10 years, like Madam said, it was the first time when I was very quiet. And after this morning, I'm so bright and happy and cheerful here, not mulling over anything or looking at, and in fact, finding it to be so joyous because the practice has led me there. So, I would share it that way. So the sadhana's experience is like that. Every time holding the thought of just coming back to the center. And it's not easy for me to do this by myself. I'm always, handheld so beautifully by my teachers, by the team. We meet, we share. And the students, when, like Lekha said, at the end of the practice during the Tapas 16 weeks, when the participants, they would ask certain questions, I have to reflect so much on my practice, on myself, and then share from that space. So everything comes from our practice. So coming back to that intention and coming back to our center, coming back to our practice. As a practitioner, if I am here, then I can pass it on to somebody else also who's coming into this space. So that is my sadhana. And so sadhana, now who is the sadhana for? Just weaving that perspective in, it's for teachers like us who've been studying with ma'ams, have been in this tradition. But life pulls us in all the directions. But we want to keep coming back to our center. So it is for teachers like that who've been on this journey for many years, but they want to come back to their center. It's for people who have already finished the 16 weeks of the tapas, but still want to come back here and then jump into Swadhyaya directly. So they've probably missed certain sessions and they want to come back to this place. It is for students who want to become teachers. For the Yoga Acharya, the Tapas, Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana, the three parts, is a part of their Acharya journey. So they keep practicing, they keep moving deeper into their personal practice, and that helps them become a better teacher. I think I've seen that. I've done a couple of teacher trainings before I came into YogaVahini 10 years ago. And I really think this is the only space where your personal practice as a teacher has been given so much of importance and is a compulsory part of your teacher training. It's not about just offering what we learn in the curriculum and module to others, but about reflecting on ourselves. Now, sadhana is also for people, teachers from the other tradition, because like I said again, this tradition's practice is very different. For everything, the center is your breath. And that is the USP of this tradition. We keep coming back to the breath. In a simple movement, the breath is given importance to. So really the triad of the body, breath, and mind, how do we link? That is the USP of this tradition. So for teachers who've been teaching in different traditions, but they want to connect deeper and understand this practice, again, tapas is the first step in that. Then it's for absolute beginners who just say, someone has said, do yoga and it's good for you, and you want to explore the journey. So it's for absolute beginners, wherein you're just going to start. And I will say they are all very blessed, because when you're starting in this tradition, you don't want to go anywhere else, because you're going to find that anchor here. So this is what these are all the different different people for whom sadhana is really going to help. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you there, practicing with all of you there. Thank you, ma'am. Let me just tag her and spotlight. Yeah.
Thank you, Aarti. Now over to Tarini. So Tarini, like you said, like I was saying, has contributed very fundamentally to the evolution of Yoga Sadhana, particularly through the book. And her attention to details and precision, perfection, has really helped me to, work harder to make this a better product, not only as a book but also as a process of learning and growing. So Tarini will share. She is also a yoga therapist from this tradition and somebody who specializes in healing through trauma, with a firm knowledge also of Ayurveda and application of Ayurveda. She does a lot of work. She has been really working in the communities in India. She lives mostly in India, I think, now, right? And so, for all practical purposes, and somebody who's very desi. But also, I think her training is about being perfect, being professional, and all of that, and we are learning a lot from her as well. So, Tarini, can you please share about a little bit about your journey itself and then the structure of the program?
Thank you. Man, such a nice way to wake up in the morning is to hear all of our journeys and really connect, and brings you back to that space of like full gratitude for being able to, being blessed to come find this tradition, but then find it through YogaVahini. And yeah, so I kept thinking how blessed it would have been if I would have had a program like Yoga Sādhanā before I got into my teacher training, right? Because I think a lot of us maybe come in and to a yoga class and maybe we feel a little bit behind at first, but we want to connect more, and then only answer to learn deeper or to be able to go into some advanced poses. For me, it was a tradition where it really prioritized advanced postures. So the only way you could learn those postures was by getting into the teacher training. But did I have a established practice? Not really, so was I ready to teach? Not really. So if what's been so great is the way this tradition has really prioritized your own personal practice, that connection with the breath, like over whether you can stand on your head or not, because it's coming back to that. And I love the way Aarti spoke and Sada spoke about coming back to that heart space. Like, am I listening from the heart or am I listening from the mind, And so, yeah, it's been a really big blessing to be involved in from the creation of the book. That's where I came in. I wasn't involved in the Yoga Sādhanā courses before. I came in with the book and then the filming the classes, and then this course is here, and I got to meet everybody. And I like to say it like this, where meeting everybody online just put a face to all those little stick figures I had been drawing for a year, So then I feel like the next books that's coming out, the Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana, like we didn't have the face, or I didn't at least have the face to the stick figure yet, So now it's like I think even that much care has been brought into even the Swadhyaya. So far we've finished Swadhyaya. So with all of that, it just is continually growing and continually evolving. And for me, like before, my trainings had finished and certain practices really stuck and like into my daily life personally, but then it was coming back to Yoga Sādhanā even as a companion, that really got me deeply connected to my own personal practice again. And it's even changed a bit of the way, my teaching has continually evolved, hearing Sadas's voice in my head, as I'm teaching my students. And so yeah, even for us as companions, I'm pretty sure it's the same for Aarti and the other teachers in this, is like, we're your companions on this because our practice is continually evolving and growing along with you. And that's what I think is also a really beautiful part of this Yoga Sadhana journey, is it's not like we're all companions, we're all growing together. It's not like this teacher or student like formality thing going on, you know? And so I'm going to actually share the screen and show you a bit about the way it actually looks, like the way the program actually looks. So I'll definitely put this link in the chat and you'll get it in an email when we share the recording. But let me just show so that I make sure I say it all correctly if it's here. So so we have the program structure. So this program is 2 months, and it's you know, being carefully designed and organized in such a way that, like, you know, everybody gets to show up to live sessions. You're not always having to check in with recordings if it's not available in your time zone. So we've done that. The weekly sessions are Monday and Thursday. Those are the practice sessions. I'll come down to the timings of those. And then the reflection sessions, they're going to be Saturdays at 6 to 8 a.m. IST and 6 to 8 p.m. IST. So basically what you're going to want to do is make a commitment with yourself and with the program that you'll show up at least to one of these practice times, Mondays and Thursdays, because each day will be a different practice. So like week 1, for example, will be like week 1 of this program, we're going to go through the first 2 practices in that 1 week. So one where we're coming together, we're being taught directly by Sawdust with the class recording, and one of us teachers will be there observing. Sometimes we have to chime in and, you know, give a little modification right there in the practice, but also at the end of the practice, save enough time. Like, don't make any plans directly. I mean, my suggestion at least is not to make plans directly right at 12:15 or 7:15, because there's a little bit of time for our journaling and reflections and a little bit of questions and connection afterwards. So sometimes, at least in my sessions, sometimes it did go a little bit beyond this hour and 15 minutes. And but anyway, there's 4 time zones. So that works across the world. Globally, you'll be able to find a time on this Monday and Thursdays that fit into your day. And these are the dates that are there. And then the Saturday dates are clearly mentioned here, and it'll be both 6 to 8 a.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. So yeah, that's a bit about the program structure. So yeah, it's been really organized and, you know, adjusted based on feedback of the first group that came through it. So yeah, looking forward to practicing with you all.
Thank you, Tarini. So we have about 10 minutes. Maybe we can open for any questions. Yes, Dr. Raman. We can't hear you.
Okay, I am recovering from ankle injury.
Oh.
Could I still be eligible?
Yeah, we may need to modify the postures. Yeah, it should be possible.
Because sitting and lying down postures don't seem to be an issue. It's the standing
postures. Yeah, I think it's fine. We will need to just, depending on whichever batch you're joining, we'll just keep an eye.
The morning batch. Morning batch.
Morning
6,
batch. Okay.
6 to 7.
Yeah.
Thank you. And looking forward.
I'm Dr. Jyoti Arora, and I just wanted to know, is it okay, like if one week we are doing a morning session, but if the next week we don't have time in the morning, can we do the evening session? Like, is it interchangeable, or once we have committed to one particular slot, then we have to stick to that?
So ideally, our suggestion will be to stay with one slot. But if you need to change for whatever reason, you're traveling or work commitments, you can always move into any slot. You can actually join any slot. But for developing a certain routine of practice, we suggest that you stay with one slot. But you can change it, no problem.
So it will be different teachers in different groups or different time slots.
Yeah, there'll be different teachers, different time slots. Yeah.
May I
Um,
add, ma'am?
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
I would like to add that the practices have been recorded with ma'am's instructions and the demonstrations. So it'll all carry the central thread of being instructed by Saras ma'am only. So we want to hold that space of, we always listen to the voice. When we look at the text, the other 2 days, when you practice with the text, the instructions come to your mind, and from there you do the practice. So it's ma'am's voice guidance, and there'll be a teacher who will be observing the session.
So it will be a recorded session, but then there'll be a live teacher also to
Correct.
guide us if we are doing something not as per the
Yeah.
instructions.
Yeah. Which means that we want to be able to see you while you're doing the practice, because it's online. We want to ensure that we are able to see you and offer any modification if required at any point. So this is twice a week, right? 2 different practices. On the other days, you do the practice with the book. So the book is also a requirement for this. If you're in India, of course, uh, you can get it on Amazon or order it from the center in Chennai. So the book is there, the practices are there. You listen, you join the practice live, and then you do the practice on the other days by yourself. So we are also seeing if we can help you develop a habit of doing your own practice, seeing the book. Not all the time only depend on some external guidance. That's the idea. And it's very simple. Yeah, once you attend the session, then to follow the book will be very easy.
And like, is it just the laptop that's needed, or you need another phone or a like phone camera so that it's focused on us while we are doing it, or
Yeah,
how
if
we
you
do
have
it?
a laptop or a iPad, we should be able to see you. That's very important when you do your practice. So with your video on, that's more than enough. Not a phone actually. Ideally, a laptop or a
No, it's
iPad.
just that I had done online yoga sessions earlier with some other teacher, and she wanted one to be placed in front and one at the side. So the side one, she said, keep your phone so that I can. That's why I was asking what should be the placement, because that lady was very particular.
We are not offer
Okay,
asking you to do that. If you
okay,
you
that's
may
fine.
have to change the location or the angle depending on whether it's a lying posture or a standing posture. That
Hmm.
much they will instruct. That's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we want to keep it simple. That's all.
Thank you. And for the registration of the course, how do we go about? Like, would you be sending us a link to register for the course? Or can we just show our commitment now, or how
Yeah.
would it
So
be?
Tarini will be sending you the email with the registration details and the recording of the session as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've also just shared the link in the chat also.
You can also, yeah, take it from the chat.
Okay.
Yes. Mamta, do you just want to do a 5-minute closing practice?
Just stay seated. Those who want to stand up, since we've been sitting for so long, feel free to stand up. Those who are seated, comfortable being seated or cannot stand up, will stay seated. You just do one posture. Starting with Samasthiti, you can do it seated or standing. Just keep your spine straight, feet rested. Keep your knees relaxed. Shoulders drawn back, and just allow the shoulders to relax. Bring your attention to your breath. Just feeling the alignment in your body. Try and make your body still as we observe, is there a sway in the body? Just try and bring it back to the center. As you inhale, raise your arms from the side, taking them all the way up, interlacing the fingers and turning them out. Stretching. Exhale, bring your arms down by your side. We'll repeat this 2 more times. Inhaling. Just pause there for a second. And then start to exhale and start bringing your arms down. One more. You can sit down now. With the same Samasthiti. Spine straight. Lower back relaxed. Allow the weight of your body to sink into your seat. Feet on the floor or a stool. Bring your gaze down and gently close your eyes. Watch your breath. Just observe it going in and out. Bring your attention to the subtle sound of your breath as you're breathing. At the same time, trying to keep the body still. Gently lengthen your inhale and exhale. Just to the extent that it's comfortable. Paying complete attention to the breath as it flows in and out. As you're inhaling, feel the expanse in your rib cage, in the chest area. Feel the diaphragm going down. As you start to exhale, gently draw the lower abdomen in, relaxing your chest. Come back to your natural breath. Bring your attention to all the sounds around you. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. You may open your eyes when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamatha. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you. Thank you, Saras. Lovely program by everybody.
Audio shut off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear?
you. Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm having my laptop battery has gone.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. All of you, all you speakers were very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saraswathi. Excellent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was very amazing to hear this live, and we have the book, so we'll be looking at it and moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you
And
for joining.
I love the little stick pictures. They're absolutely beautiful.
Namaste. Have a beautiful day, guys.
You too.